In this tutorial, we're going to use DipTrace to create a printed circuit board, or a PCB as it's known. And we're going to get from our schematic here on the screen to what we call a PCB layout. So to begin the process, what you're going to do is head up to File from your schematic program, and down in the list you're going to find Convert to PCB. And when you click that, and this is also something you can get to from your launcher that you use to open the schematic program. You'll be given a couple choices here. Use schematic rules is the one we want. Push OK. And we are now in the PCB layout environment you can see up at the top of the screen. And if I hold my middle mouse scroll wheel down, I can pan back and forth. I can also scroll with the wheel and zoom in and out, and I can pick things obviously. So what I have in front of me are all the components that we have in our schematic. There they are, all these components, but they are connected with these what are called rat lines, R-A-T, rat lines, and these are all the parts. Now you may not see your labels and everything, so to turn those on, again, we go up to View, and we go up to Objects, no, where is it? Component markings, there it is. And you head over to the main markings and you can turn on the name or you can turn on the value. If you have value on, everything goes out. If you want to put in values, you double click on the component and you can see it over on the right here, or it pops up like this, and you can enter the value for the component or its name. I think I have entered everything in name, so if I go back to View, Component Markings, Name, main and name, there we are. I entered them all in the name here so that, well, I will do it right now actually. This is the 1/4 watt resistor hooked to the LED. If I click on that, I'm going to change its name to 220 ohm. There we go, and hit enter. And this is the 1/4 watt resistor that's hooked up to the switch. And if I head to that one, there we go, we got to make it blue. This one was a 10K ohm, so delete, 10K ohm. And this one down here says switch normally open. We can get finicky on this and we can pick it and we can go just switch. I'm changing all the names so I can see them easily. So there we are. We can see what everything is as it relates to the schematic. They are all jumbled up, and that's fine. You can grab them and drag them. The rat lines stay connected. We'll deal with that later. So where are we going to begin? Well, we're going to begin by making the actual board outline. All of our boards have to have the same specifications. It's on this document, which I'll link on the website. Here they are, and all of these holes and this board size have to be the same so they fit into the project box that's been designed. So here are all the dimensions we need to pay attention to, but before we can do that, we just have to set up the outside board. So it's 2 1/4 high and 1 3/4 wide. So we'll move that off the screen and we'll begin. So up here under Object, you can place a board points right there. And these are the 4 corners of your board, and you can key them in with X's and Y's, but here's the easiest way. We'll head down to create a rectangle, and our width is supposed to be 1.75 wide, and our height is supposed to be 2.25. And we'll push OK. Now, why did it place it over here? Well, if I head up to View and I turn on down here under the Display the Origin, this is the beginning of our X and Y scale. So this is 0, 0 right here, and it's placed it there. I don't want it to move, so what I'm going to do is click on it, left click, and then right click on it and pull up the lock and lock it. Now I can't move this board and I can't change it. So that's going to be helpful to make sure we don't mess it up as we're doing everything else. I'll turn the origin back off because we don't really need to see it. There we are. And we'll start the next step. The next step is going to be to place the location of these drill holes that we have to put in. And you can see down here, if I open this up a bit more, it's 1/8 in from each side of the board. So this brings the grid into play, and maybe up until now you've been staring at a black screen and not a grid screen like mine. Well, head up to View, and you can see that you can turn the grid on and off, so it's off. When it's off, components don't snap to the grid. when it's on, view, grid, components will snap to the grid, as long as the snap is selected. Okay, now we need to make these little holes 1/8 in from the corner. So why don't we set up the grid at 1/8 and then we can snap to that location. So over here under view, grid again, head down to customize grid. We're going to need a couple of things. We're going to need an 1/8 inch grid. Oh, that's not it, sorry. 125. 0.125 is an 1/8. We can add that to the list because it isn't there. The other grid we might want is a 1/4 inch, so let's go 0.25 and add that to the list. Now we have a 0.25 and a 0.125, and now I think we have a 0.125. I have two 0.25s, so let's see if I can put the 0.125 back. Oh, I'm overwriting an old one. I see what's going on. Add, and then we can add another one, 0.125. Oh, there it is. Okay. This one's going to be, the third one is going to be a 1/16 of an inch. So that's 0.0625. Add. Good. And then push OK. So the first grid I'd like to use is the 1/8. If you head up here to the top of the ribbon, you see right here where it says 0.125, there's a drop down. I should be able to pick any of these, and the one I want is the 0.125. So that's the one I want, 1/8 of an inch. The distance between here, and if I look down in the lower right, I can see my X coordinate. The distance between here, 0, and here is going to be an 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to place 4 pads. These are little copper pads that you'll see when we make the board, but we're going to go up here to place a pad, and we're going to put one here, and we're not going to do anything yet. I'm going to place one. Then I'm going to use my select tool up here, and I'm going to pick it. And over here it tells me about it. Well, I'm going to set it up for what I want, which is a 0.08 by 0.08 for width and height, and the inner can be 0.03. So it looks like that. Now what I'm going to do is right click on it and copy it. And then over here, right click, there we go, right click and paste. And then we'll click down here, right click, paste. And right there, right click, paste. Now these are an 1/8 inch in from each edge, and that's exactly what we need. All right, so that part of the setup's done. The last part is, to get this going, is we need to have this Arduino Nano in the right place. So we go back to our drawing, and if I find it here for a moment, what did I do with my drawing? Oh, I found it, hang on. And well, I'll tell you how to do it. I think I remember where it is. It's supposed to be 3/16 inch in from the edge, and I believe it was a 1/4 inch down from the edge, this corner. But if I zoom in, this corner isn't going to snap to anything. If I snap there, it's not in the right spot. If I snap there, it's not in the right spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the grid size of 1/16, 0.0625, right there, that we created earlier. We are going to create a donut, another pad, at the location that we want. So 1, 2, 3 over, and 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So that's a 1/4 inch down, 4/16, and it's 3/16 over. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn off our snap view, no more snapping. We're going to use our pick tool, and we are going to position this so that those green crosses end up in the middle of that circle. That'll be perfect. Then, because I just floated it in there and I don't want to move it, I'm going to right click. Well, first of all, hang on. When it's blue, I'm going to right click on it when it's blue and lock it. Now I can't move it, so it's locked in position. The last thing we're going to do is delete this little donut. So click it with your pick tool, and delete on your keyboard should get rid of it. Okay, that's most of the setup. Now the next thing we're going to set up are the things we need before we do something called routing or routing, if we go with the American pronunciation. These are going to have traces that connect them on the board, little copper traces. So we have to do some setup to make sure that's done right. So head up here under this root, and we're going to go down the list here. And the first thing we're going to do is go to current auto router, and we are going to go to grid router. Make sure it's on this one and not that one. That's the first setup. Then the second thing we're going to do is going to go back to the root and head down to auto router setup, this one here, and pick that. And in here where it says number of layers, we are going to make sure this is set to 1. You might be on something else here, but it has to be 1. Complicated boards can have many layers. Somewhat complicated boards can have 2 layers, top and bottom of board. Our very simplistic board has 1 layer. It's only got copper on one side. 1 layer it is. Push OK. The last thing we're going to do, back to root, you're going to go to root setup right here. And in here, we're going to make sure the trace width is, and this is the width of the little copper connecting ribbons that are on the board. That's called a trace, that basically the wires on your board. And you can go 0.04, but I wouldn't go any narrower. I've got mine set to 5. 5/100ths of an inch. And the trace clearance, that's good too, 0.02. And then we can push OK. That's all for this video, and in the next video we'll actually run or place the other components onto the board, and then we'll start trying to connect them using the auto router. See you in the next video.